And welcome to the Aaron Katzman Show. I'm your host, Aaron Katzman. We speak about your life, your money, and your investments. And as always, we're coming to you from the spiritual and soon to be financial capital of the world, Jerusalem, Israel. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please go ahead and subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think somebody might find this of interest, why don't you go ahead and hit the share button below and you can share it with them as well. So today I want to speak to something that is very, very important. In fact, in my business, in the financial advice business, is probably the number one issue. And that's what to do with seniors, helping seniors prevent big financial mistakes, financial scams against seniors. It's a huge issue. And I came across an article actually in the New York Times, believe it or not. There was an interesting, balanced article in the New York Times. Go figure. It's called How to Prevent Aging Parents and Relatives from Making Financial Mistakes. And it was written by Paulette Perhach. She says the following. Jillian Gunther's uncle noticed her 91-year-old grandfather never seemed to have as much cash as he should in his wallet. A banker with access to the cash, die packs, used to catch bank robbers. Her uncle put one in a wallet in their home. When the money went missing, a trusted home care worker had the die on her coat. Okay. The experience inspired Mrs. Gunther to dedicate her life to protecting elders from financial fraud, and she is now director of Bank Safe Initiative at the AARP. Interesting. I know multiple people who had caregivers or people that they trusted enter their homes and do lots of financial damage, whether it was stealing from the person they were in charge of, the caregiver stealing, selling off or stealing, probably then selling rare books or other rare pieces of, in this case, Judaica. I know somebody who got a hold of the aged person's credit card and started charging things up. And it wasn't until one of the children looked into it and found that something was happening that they went after him. All kinds of fraud, identity fraud I know of from seniors where somebody just, walked into their house basically or was trusted and came into the house. And then when the other person was like in the bathroom or something, they couldn't hear very well, started just going through their papers and found, I guess, social security number. And then the fraud started. So, you have to just be really, really careful. The article goes on and said Americans over 70 control $53 trillion in wealth, and they are the prime targets for scams. Their adult children are often the first people to notice when something seems amiss, but when elders are the victims of misdeeds, family dynamics can make it difficult to change their behavior. Experts say it takes empathy, due diligence, sometimes outside help. It's just not money that's at stake, Ms. Gunther added. Financial exploitation can cause anxiety, depression, a higher risk of heart attacks, and even suicide. She said older adults might require the help of the grown children and trusted friends to see their financial lives more clearly. Right? And there's a relationship, she says, between age and financially unsound decision making. It follows this U curve. Younger people and older people are more prone to make mistakes. Okay, so it's very, very important. And we have something which is called a trusted contact, so that if we notice, for one of the reasons is that we notice unusual behavior, financial behavior from the senior, that we can call the contact, not divulge anything about their accounts, but try and see if anything's going on out of the ordinary that we didn't know about, because it's important. It's also important to know that oftentimes the senior, if they are taken for a scam, won't want to admit it. They feel ashamed. They feel that they're losing their capabilities, and they won't say anything to anybody, and they don't know how to deal with it. And it can happen over and over and over again. Cybercrime, she says, against elders is skyrocketing. In 2024, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center received nearly 150,000 complaints of cyber-enabled fraud against people 60 or older, with almost $5 billion in losses. According to their annual report, the average loss, believe it or not, $83,000. That's crazy. Scams can come from investment opportunities, imposters pretending the IRS, or an online romance, right? We know about those. Those have been sort of become famous, where people get taken down they create an online romance, so to speak, and then the person needs money, and then the victim starts sending money and money and money and money, and they get wiped out. There's lots of stories about that, not just from seniors, unfortunately, but from middle-aged people as well, just get taken to the cleaners from it. This is some really important advice. When you hear something that sounds off, you might react in the moment without thinking, but that would lead to a mistake. You want to lead with empathy. Coming right out and saying something like, you've been scammed, or this is a horrible decision, those are things that are not going to open up the conversation, she says. So before writing off their decision as risky or bad, it's important to do your own research and also ask questions like, what interests you about this investment? What are you helping to achieve? It's really important also that if somebody starts approaching a senior with a professional designation, that you check to make sure that it actually is true. Because people can just, come up and say, yeah, I'm a CFP, I'm a CFA, I'm a whatever. They can just confuse the senior, and then they'll just turn over their money to them, or they'll trust them either churning accounts, creating huge amounts of commissions, or selling high commission products are something that's very, very common with seniors. I know that in my business, it's common, and we're checked to make sure that that's not going on. It's become, like I said, it's like the number one issue, and you have to take it very, very seriously. If you're looking after a senior, if you have an elderly parent, if you're a spouse of somebody who's starting to make some decisions that are not so great, be careful. The article continues on looking for red flags. In 2024, Rianka Dorsenville's mother came to her with a check that looked legitimate. All she had to do was deposit it and then send money order for a lower amount to a third party. And then she'd be able to keep the difference. It's a common check fraud scam. I was like, Mom, this isn't true. This isn't real, said Miss Dorsenville, the founder and senior wealth advisor at YGC Wealth. These scammers are becoming so sophisticated in their tactics. People can now be scammed by clicking on a quiz on social media, signing up for a game, or responding to a Facebook message that appears to be from a relative. It's just so important that if something is suspicious, you need to check it out. It's a hard responsibility for the children, but ein ma lasot, as they say in Hebrew, you've got to do it. She recommends that you acknowledge what they've taught you about finance and then add to that what you've learned from financial experts, and if possible, pass them along to someone who can advise them. Approach it in an educational manner versus I know more than you. And I think that they'll appreciate that. It's so important because it happens over and over and again. Another big issue is going to be dementia. Peter Lichtenberg, who was the former director of the Institute of Gerontology at Wayne State University, says, what we found from some of our focus groups over the years is that maybe 1 out of every 5 people discover dementia in their parents because their parents are losing money. Usually it takes the form of not remembering that they gave to a cause, sending money again, or falling prey to phone scams. Signs that dementia may be involved include recent health problems that required hospitalization, increased falls, missed appointments, or the repeating of things like telling the same joke twice in an hour. Again, in our business, I'll meet with somebody who's elderly and I'll see they're repeating themselves. They told the same story 6 times during our meeting, things like that. And I'll know then to speak to their trusted contact. It's very important then for the children, if they notice any kinds of patterns like this, to start trying to get more involved financially so that the senior, the parent, becomes protected. Like I say, this is a huge issue. Lots of people are getting ripped off. Lots of people are becoming scammed. Just another tip: if you're elderly and you think already that maybe you might be making some decisions that are not so great, maybe add somebody to one of your accounts. Add a child who you trust to the account so they can, first of all, see firsthand what's going on. They have access to the account, or even they can start helping you make decisions on the account. It's really, really important because you want to, you worked your whole life, you made all this money, you have what you have, and to have it scammed away from you is just tragic. Okay, feel free to reach out to me. This is a big topic. I'd be happy to speak to you in a lot more depth. You can email me or what have you, and we can talk about it at fuller length. You've been tuning into the Aaron Katzman Show. We speak about your life, money, and your investments. If you like this content, please hit the like button below. If you've not yet done so, please subscribe to both the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you think somebody might find this of interest, somebody who has got either is elderly or is in care of somebody who's elderly, why don't you go ahead and hit the share button and share it with them as well. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you soon.